All right, it is a Saturday, or a Sunday if you're watching it, because I'm probably uploading it the day after filming. But for me, it is Saturday, and it's a beautiful Saturday. It's kind of hot for my liking. I live in Florida. Looking forward to eventually one day moving to a more northern state, if only just for the climate. But it's still a beautiful day. We're moving into the fall. Things are gonna start cooling down. I'm excited for that. And again, I'm headed to the gym for leg day. I actually hit legs twice a week. I do one day that's accessory focused, so, you know, leg raises, leg curls, leg press, and hack squat. It's a machine hack squat. It's not, I think all hack squats are actually machines, come to think of it. But today is heavy leg day, so that's mainly squats. On my secondary leg day, which is Saturday, my Saturday leg day, I tend to hit barbell squats. I might do lunges, and I may or may not do some leg raises. You really just can't go wrong with leg raises. They're so easy. They're so quick and easy. And when I say easy, I don't mean in terms of rate of exerted effort. I mean, you just sit there and then you flex and you raise your legs. So you know what I mean? Like, they're easy in that regard. So today's philosophical thoughts, as it were, I was thinking about why I train. This is probably stuff that you've heard before, but you know, I'm not a fitness influencer. These are more so vlogs than they are fitness. I'm just making them as I go to the gym because that's the time where I'm thinking and pondering things that are worth talking about, that seem interesting to me. But ultimately, I'm a video game content creator, or at the very least, media, art. You know, I talked a lot about art in yesterday's video about making it matter, which is my personal motto. But ultimately, I do stuff in media. So why do I train? You know, I appear on camera, obviously, even in my other videos, which are mostly just video game footage. I still appear on camera, so you know, you want to look good. But I don't look all that good, so why do I train? Well, there's actually a number of very beneficial reasons to train yourself physically in some way that are far more than anything vanity related, which is a common misconception. Most people don't train for vanity, at least not as a primary reason, that are far more beneficial to you than anything like vanity or health. A lot of people don't necessarily train for their physical health either, although it's very beneficial for that as well. So I'm going to tell you a brief story. I'll probably continue to tell different versions of this, well, rather different facets and aspects of it going forward as I talk more about like my own past and my history. But I have not always trained physically. I did not get into the gym until I was 23 years old. Now, I grew up on something of a farm, and I was, you know, physically active in that regard. You know, hard work on Saturdays, that kind of thing. But contrary to what some people might tell you, there is an enormous difference between manual labor and physical training. I mean, an enormous difference. Like, if you do train, you're probably used to people like making little quips at you. If you do some manual labor for the day, they're like, well, that's your workout for the day. Well, no, it's not, because there's immense differences, not only physically, but mainly mentally. When you go into a gym setting and you have machines that are built to target certain muscle groups and release certain, I don't know if I would say release certain endorphins. I don't think that's really probably scientifically accurate, but when you train certain things, you feel different things when you're training them. And it is immensely beneficial to your psyche to hit a hard squat day and feel that in your legs. In fact, squatting actually releases your testosterone, which is really good for men. But the point is, I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that whenever I was growing up. And I had grown up doing manual labor, but all that did was give me the impression that physical activity sucks. I hated it. I mean, I would do it. I guess I wouldn't say I hated it, but it wasn't my favorite thing. I wanted to write and make some kind of media content, some kind of art. I had written my first novella, I think by the time I was 17. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be creative. I liked computers. I built my own first computer when I was younger. I liked video games. I was into technology. I just kind of lumped myself into like a nerd category or like a geek category. I liked Dungeons and Dragons and emo music, and well, I did like screamo and metal music, but I just kind of put myself out of the physical camp. I was like, okay, well that's not me. That's not me. That's not who I am. I'm not the guy who goes for runs, or I'm not the guy who's like really strong and muscular, the jock guy. That's for like jocks who like sports and stuff. I didn't realize how much of a disservice I was doing myself, mental health wise and physical health wise also, because physical training, it gets lumped into like you're someone who does it or you're someone who doesn't, and that really shouldn't be the case. Going to the gym, you can call it bodybuilding or powerlifting, but I'm just going to call it, let's call it compound movement weightlifting, which means just your basic compounds: bench, squat, deadlift, row, overhead. Just those 5. That should be the equivalent of brushing your teeth for men and for women. And it took me until I was 23 before I started doing it. And I was very, very lanky. I was very skinny. Very skinny. I weigh around 200 pounds right now. I'm 6 feet tall. Back then, when I was 22, I think I weighed about 145 at 6 feet tall. But I also had very poor eating. I was basically anorexic, but that's not the point. The point is, if you convince yourself that weightlifting is like a thing, it's like surfboarding, or it's like boxing, which everybody should box as well, but that's not quite the same. I'm talking about the 5 compound movements. That should be about like brushing your teeth, or like going to get a physical checkup at the doctor. It shouldn't be something that, you're like that guy. Oh, she's like a gym girl. He's like a gym guy. If you want to get that into it, by all means. You can try to get into bodybuilding and hitting your protein and tracking your macros, all of which I think everybody should do that too, but not everybody has the time or wants to do that. And you don't have to do that. But the 5 basic compounds, you should be pretty much, no matter who you are, with exceptions, if you have some kind of extreme physical ailment or something. But if you're just some dude, you should be hitting your 5 basic compounds, because it's going to clear up your mental health. It's going to give you better clarity. It's going to give you better focus. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to balance and regulate your hormones a lot better. Everything about what you're thinking and feeling is going to steadily get clearer and sharper the longer you're lifting weights somewhat seriously. Just the 5 basic compounds, and if you want to throw some accessories in there too, you can. And I suffered from extreme depression in my late teens and early 20s with no good reason. No good reason. I can get more into this probably in a later video, but I used to wonder what was wrong with me, because I had very good relationship with my parents. Love my parents. My parents are loving, supportive. I can't think of anything to complain about. Great relationship with my parents. Great relationship with my siblings. I was provided for well. We weren't wealthy. I grew up in a farm in deep south. We weren't rolling in it, is what I'll say. We were, I would say, upper lower class, maybe lower middle class. But I wasn't wanting for food. I didn't really have anything to be depressed or complain about. I didn't have parents or friends with drug habits. Wow. But all the same, I had extreme depression. Very, very, very depressed. And I never knew what was wrong with me. Turns out it was hormone irregularities, extreme vitamin D deficiency. Probably, the doctor didn't tell me this when I went and got a checkup, but I would wager I wasn't activating my testosterone nearly enough. Among who knows what else. I mean, being 145 pounds, eating around 900 calories a day as a 6 foot tall, 22-year-old man. That's insane. That's insane. That is not good. But I had all kinds of mental problems, body dysmorphia is what you would call it, I guess. Depression, self-harming habits, all these different things. And I'm not going to say all of, but the vast majority of these issues resolved themselves within the first 6 months that I started taking weightlifting seriously. I went and had a checkup when I was around the age of 22 or 23, I think 23-ish, where the doctor looked at my, we did some blood tests and stuff, and she told me, she was like, your vitamin D levels are concerningly low, very, very, very low. And she put me on a prescription level vitamin D supplement that I had to go and have filled, because it's so much more than I guess I could have bought an over-the-counter vitamin D and just taken like 6 pills, but it was a lot. It was huge amounts of vitamin D just to level me out. But she also told me if I didn't start eating better, eating protein, I was gonna face serious physical issues in my later life, like organ problems and whatnot. That's how bad it was. And I wasn't like a gym guy, and that's not what got me into the gym, by the way. That sounds like the moment where it's, like, oh, I gotta get my life in order, I'm gonna die. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually care. I didn't care if I died at that time. That sounds bleak, but I just hated being alive. I hated who I was. I hated what I looked like. I hated everything about it. So the prospect of dying sooner didn't really faze me at the time. So I was like, whatever. That wasn't the moment. The moment, I think, that the biggest moment I can track it back to, well, there's probably 3. I think 3 major moments that all happened within about a month of each other, but I'll focus on one right now. I had a coworker. I worked at a electronics store at the time. It was a Best Buy. I worked at a Best Buy for a while, and a coworker that I had met a few months prior, we immediately clicked. We got along really, really well. We were both fans of like Metal Gear and stuff, and we started hanging out outside of work. And he told me he was going to be gone for the month of December. I think it was like it was like a month and a half time that I wasn't going to see him, because he was going to go on some trip or something with his family. And so I didn't see him for a while. And when I met this guy, he was very lanky. He was like me, very skinny. And after a month and a half, he came back. I invited him over to my house before we worked a shift together. I invited him over to my house. I was like, dude, come hang out for a couple hours. So he showed up, and he showed up in a wife beater, and his arms were twice the size they were when he left. And I thought I was speaking almost to a different person. And I asked him, I was like, yo, dude, well, you been working out? What's up? And he told me, he was like, yeah, actually, I just started following this guy on Instagram or something, and he convinced me just in his videos to start taking the gym way more seriously. And he said, so I'm now in the gym every day. I'm taking my protein seriously. I'm hitting the compound movements. Something clicked in my brain that made me think, I want that for me. I want that. I was like, what the fuck? And then I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, I look so much worse than he does. And I feel like shit, and I hate this. And he did that in like a month and a half. Now, nowadays we call this newbie gains. If you are very skinny and you haven't really worked out, and you start taking it really seriously and you push yourself through that initial pain, you can get an astonishing amount of progress in a short amount of time. So I told myself, all right, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take this seriously for like a month and a half and just see what happens. And so I followed through on that. He wanted me to go to the gym with him, and he promised to start training with me, which is probably the biggest component. If you're trying to do this by yourself, it's so much harder. Get yourself a gym partner if you can. If you have some guy who's really into the gym and he's been inviting you, just go. Start. Go with him, go. But anyways, I took him up on it, and I started going to the gym with him, I think probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 days a week. I was going almost every day, going really hard. I can actually remember the day I was trying to learn how to bench press, and I could barely bench press like, what'd that be, 45, 55? 65. I could barely bench press 65 pounds, I think. Like I could, you know, press it for like 1 or 2 reps, but it was hard. And then I backed off and I saw him tossing like 45-pound plates on there, and he was just smoking me. And I was like, bro. But I didn't let that deter me. I had my ego hit. I had my pride hit. I felt embarrassed. He was stronger. He knew what he was doing. I didn't. I felt embarrassed. I felt some shame. And I told myself, this is the moment where you say, this isn't for me. You throw your hands up, you back off, and you say, all right, I'm done with this. And then I told myself I'm not that person anymore. And I said, yes, I don't know how to lift weights. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm weak. I'm a physically weak man. I'm ignorant. I don't know what's up. And I said, and I'm okay with all of that. Fuck it. Fuck this. Yes. The things that I think that I am. And by doing this and accepting this, I'm going to not be that anymore. So I kept lifting weights. And I kept at it, and I can remember, it may have been exactly 30 days. It may not have been, but it was really close to the 30-day mark of just doing what he was doing in the gym. He would like lower the weights for me and kind of help me get regulated to it. He was still learning too, by the way. Like, I'm making it sound like he was mega experienced. He'd only been doing it for like a month and a half at that point. I think he just had a stronger base than I did, so he was already stronger than me. But he didn't know what he was doing super well either. We were both watching Instagram videos and like learning and trying to get better at it. I think he just had a stronger base, but it's not like he had been lifting for like a year or two at that point. But anyways, it was around the 30-day mark after I had started lifting weights. I went into the kitchen. It may have been a Saturday, actually, but not the kitchen, the bathroom, and I was gonna get ready for work. I had a morning shift. I brushed my teeth, and I looked at myself in the mirror for a second, and I noticed that I had a bicep muscle. It was only about a month in. It was so early on in my gym lifting career, and everything clicked, and I got it. At that moment, I got it. I understood. I had never in my life looked in the mirror and thought, hang on, I kind of look like who I thought I looked like in my head. Every time I looked in the mirror at that point, I would see something that obviously it looks like you, but there's some disconnect in your brain where it's like, that doesn't really look like me. And it's because in your subconscious knows what you're supposed to look like, what your potential is, what you could look like, whereas your conscious just recognizes what you do look like. So your consciousness looks at it and says, objective reality, that is me, that is what I look like. But something in the back of your mind, your subconscious, it sees that and it says, hang on, that's what I look like objectively. Yes, you're right, conscious mind, but I know my potential is way more than that. I know I'm supposed to look different, better than that. And that was the first time, I think, that I looked in the mirror and I saw that I had formed like the beginnings of a bicep muscle. I was like, I look different. I look different than I did 30 days ago, a month ago. And after that, it was all pushing forward from there. I was all in, like, it's happening, you know? But the point is, it changes your life for the better. And if you're not someone who lifts weights yet, if you're not someone who takes it seriously yet, you may have heard a lot of other people saying this. They're not, and it's hard work, and sometimes you don't want to go, and you go and it's annoying and it's frustrating. But there's a reason, man. There's a reason you have all these fitness influencers. It's not just because they want money. It's because they want to be healthier. It's because they want to feel better and look better. There's really next to no negative facets to weightlifting if you do it wisely and you do it regularly. You can injure yourself if you're going in there and you're ego lifting, you're going crazy on it, and you're like blasting gear or something. But if you're doing it wisely, the way that your body wants, there's about as many downsides as there would be to brushing your teeth. In just terms of relatable downsides, you know what I mean? If you wake up in the morning, you're like, man, I need to drink more water. You know, if you're drinking, like, let's just take out the aspects. It's like waking up and saying, I need to drink more spring water from glass bottles. Doing that, there's probably around the same amount of downsides as there would be to drinking spring water from glass bottles as there would be to being physically active in some capacity, mostly compound movements, I would say, in my opinion, but boxing, hiking, rock climbing, biking. Did I say biking? Pilates, yoga, dance, physical activity. We as human beings are creatures that were designed to live and exist in a world that is very much a physical world. The fact that we now live in an era where we can ride over to the supermarket to get our food, that's not super normal. Like, that's something that we as humans have engineered. But we are designed physically to be capable of doing a lot of physical work. And not only designed to be capable of it, we're designed with the expectation of having to do it. And so if you don't, your body will decay to atrophy, and your psyche will feel unfulfilled in a spiritual, soulful way. So I've been sitting here at the gym for a minute now, and I'm gonna wrap this up. But the point of all of that was, why do we train? Why do I train? What's the point of training? It's because we need it. It's because physically, it's the healthy thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Why do I try to drink a lot of water? We all know you want to stay hydrated. We all know it's better for you than drinking a lot of high fructose corn syrup soda. Why do you brush your teeth? Because it's good to keep your teeth maintained and clean, and it's good for you. Why should you train? Why do I train? Because it's good for your body needs it, your body expects it. And it clears my mind, it makes it easier for me to think, it just feels great mentally, everything. So you should train. If you're not training yet, you should get into training. All right, guys, anyway, it is leg day. I'm outside the gym. I'm gonna head on inside. I'm gonna hit some legs, squats, may or may not film some of that, and we will touch base as soon as I'm done with that. All right, so that is one leg day down. Again, this was my second leg day of the week. I hit legs twice a week. I did some squats and some leg raises. Nothing really heavy or intense today. So legs felt pretty good overall today, I would say. I'm thinking about the things I was saying before I went into the gym about how good it is for you physically, how good it is for you mentally. And let me tell you, right now, post hitting several sets of squats, I feel great. Like, I feel great physically, but I really feel good in my head. I feel clear. Yeah, so I'm home. I got cleaned up. This is not what I'm wearing to my nice dinner tonight. I'm gonna swap out right before we leave, but this is just to be cozy for the next hour and a half while I get a little bit of work done. Yeah, it's been great. I'm really enjoying the vlogging process so far. And I really can't wait to see what we come up with and what else we were able to philosophize together on my car rides to and from the gym and other stuff. You know, if I'm doing something interesting and fun, I want to be vlogging it. It's not just like fitness content. I just want it to be vlogs, fun stuff, a little bit of something to keep me busy, a little bit of extra Evan Prince content for you here on the Evan Prince Plus channel, just fun stuff. Not to mention this channel will also be featuring so much more like live stream clips and other types of content, commentary, because I plan to be live streaming way more, doing reaction stuff, just a lot of fun content for this channel. It's a lot less strenuous in terms of what I'm planning on producing for this channel. I don't want to call it low effort, but compared to the amount of work that goes into the retrospective stuff, significantly less effort. This is just for building the community, touching base with you guys, hearing what you think, interacting. It's a little bit more personal is all. If you haven't already, make sure to join the Discord. The link should be in the description of this video. Check out the main channel, find something suitable for you. And I should have some new merch designs coming soon, which I'm really excited to debut. I'll be debuting them here on this channel, Evan Prince Plus. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that you found something fulfilling or gratifying in this video, maybe something to think about, to chew on. Even if you don't agree with me, yeah, you can let me know what you think in the comments. If you've had a similar kind of weightlifting experience or just something in that vein, even if it's not like lifting or something, drop it down in the comments. Tell me more about you. The whole point of this channel is to get more in touch with you guys, kind of build a community, and just kind of share in our similar passions. I don't feel like there's a lot of content creators who do what I do in the exact way that I do it. A lot of content creators are either like they're fitness first and then they do a little bit of gaming, or they're like a gaming channel and maybe they dabble in fitness. But my whole thing is utilizing art, gaming, music, movies as inspiration for making your own life better. I'm not necessarily like a self-improvement kind of channel or anything, but I think art is so important. So that's really what I'm most interested in. Tell me about different ways that art has impacted your life. How have you been making things in your life matter? How have you been making it matter? And tell me about your journey. What are you hoping to get started doing if you're not doing something already? Biking, hiking, fighting, boxing, training, whatever it is. Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see you in the next vlog or next video you catch me in, and make sure to make it matter. Till then, that's all I've got for you.